Hi, my name is Mason, and today I'm going to be talking about how to take apart and troubleshoot issues with your Game Boy Pocket. Alright, so right here is the Game Boy Pocket that we're going to be working on today, and in this video we're just going to talk about basic troubleshooting and disassembly of your Game Boy Pocket before you can start any sort of repairs. So I have in the back some AAA batteries. Remember that the Game Boy Color takes AA's, and Super Mario Land just to see if it's reading the games correctly. So switching the on button on, and we're not getting anything. So it looks like this one is definitely having some sort of issue inside. And so one of the first things that I look for, I would normally look for the indicator light, but this is the original Game Boy Pocket design, which doesn't have an on or off indicator. So it is a little hard to tell if it really is working because you have the contrast on the side. And sometimes if that contrast isn't just right, you won't see anything. But we're also not getting any sound out of it as well. So something's obviously wrong. And so if you open up the back, normally just you can do a visual inspection, and it looks like there is some slight corrosion around this right here, and that just happens when you leave your batteries in your system too long. There's a little bit right there, and so in a later video we'll talk about how to fix that corrosion, but that's just one of the first things that you want to always look for is there corrosion, how dirty is the system, and this system seems to be pretty clean. It's a little scuffed up, but overall it's not in terrible condition. You can see some filth around these screws in there. So I'm guessing that there's probably going to be a power switch issue, which is the fastest fix for these, is just put some alcohol into the power switch, rub it back and forth, and normally it works just fine after that because there's a contact issue with it. So with that, I think we can begin the disassembly process to really figure out what's going on inside. So most important tool in fixing a Game Boy undoubtedly is your tri-wing screwdriver. So this is a special type of screwdriver that Nintendo made so people wouldn't break into their stuff. And so now they're mass produced in China, these tri-wing screwdrivers. So they're super cheap to get. I use the cheap ones. You can get fancy ones too. This was probably $2 from eBay. You can get them cheaper even if you buy them in bulk. But we've got to remove these 6 tri-wing screwdrivers, and that's just going to lift off the back. So let's get that done. Alright, so with that we've got the back on, and you see once you get the screws off, this back just comes right off. You do have a little metal plate here, which using a small Phillips head screwdriver you can unscrew these, which we might end up doing in a later video if we end up needing to wash this, and it looks like we might actually want to wash this. I don't know if you can see it well here, but there's a lot of gunk and grime in here, and so there's definitely it's definitely a dirt problem that's messing this Game Boy up. So the next part, we have 3 more screws to remove before we can really get inside of it, and these are 3 Phillips head screws. So I like to use this just because it has a little bit of a flatter head. If you use a really pointed Phillips head screwdriver, it has a tendency to strip the screws. And so try to use one with a little bit of a flatter head. It will just have a better grab on those. So we're going to remove 1, 2, 3 screws right now. So now with this next part, I normally like to use tweezers, but you can just use any sort of screwdriver or any tool really. And we've got to remove this ribbon cable. So what we're going to do, we're going to lift up on both of these little clamps here, just like that. And now the ribbon cable can come free. You can also remove this power button. And I personally like to lift up on the motherboard, push down on the ribbon cable, and just pull it out, and you see it just comes, it's just barely in there once you lift up on that clamp. So with that, the motherboard has been removed. Looks like it pulled off one of the membranes as well, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. You know, no massive corrosion, speaker's all nasty. just a little bit right here on those battery contacts. Whoever had this before was definitely keeping their batteries in their Game Boy for too long. So in another video, we'll return to this and talk about some easy fixes, some easy ways that maybe we can get this Game Boy up and running. But now for the final part, we've got to just remove all these buttons. That's the easy part. You just get them out, put them to the side. They'll be nice and gross, so we'll clean those later on. And then to remove the screen, the easiest way to remove the screen is actually just to get the shell in your hands like this and kind of rotate it back and forth, and you see it's already just tilting up because it's just got a thin layer of adhesive around the screen. So if we want to pull up on it, all we got to do is get that. It's a little tricky to do. Get that up like that, and then I like to use a screwdriver, just get right underneath there, and then it pulls right up. And there's our screen. And with the screen, I normally like to have a little microfiber cloth, and I'll just lay it face down on the cloth, set it aside so I'm not messing with it. I'm not gonna bump it over or anything. And there we have the shell. And if we were to remove this and this little battery piece right here, then we can literally just throw these in the sink, scrub them down with soap, and they get really clean. Last little bit, just before we end, if you are wanting to put your Game Boy in the water to clean it, you should probably remove this piece as well. All that you have to do is there's a little tiny slot down here. Grab something pointy. I like to use the tips of these tweezers. And you'll see there's a little tiny lip that you have to push in. And if you can just put your little pointy thing right down in that hole, then it comes right out. So that's the last thing that you really need to do to make sure this is completely stripped down and ready to be cleaned. And that's it. That's how you disassemble a Game Boy Pocket. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about just how are we going to fix this thing, some more troubleshooting things. And yeah, so thanks for watching.